The Kriken Empire is the third major and enigmatic faction within the Metroid universe. Known for Imperial expansionism, it is considered so great a threat that the Galactic Federation and the Space Pirates would even contemplate temporarily overlooking their differences with each other for the sake of dealing with the Kriken threat. The Krikens, the Empire's namesake, are a race of red bipedal insectoid hive-soldiers who specialize in biotechnology, personal cloaking, and sniping. Their culture involves a rite of passage for youths to prove their mettle, which involves the exiling of said youths and only allowing for their return if they either A. find a suitable world for the Empire to conquer and assimilate, or B. perform some other great feat for the glory of the Empire. The bounty hunter Trace is one such exile who seeks the fabled ultimate power in Metroid Prime Hunters in order to complete his own rite of passage. That is all that is truly known about the Kriken Empire, but there may yet be other facts about it that can be inferred by examining one of its two main rivals, the Galactic Federation itself. For instance, we don't exactly know just how large the Galactic Federation is, but there are a number of facts that seem to hint it is incredibly immense. For one, the briefing at the beginning of Metroid Prime Hunters mentions that the Tetra Galaxy is, quote, outside of Federation-controlled space, unquote. If the Galactic Federation was strictly within the confines of the Milky Way galaxy, then this statement would prove both obvious and irrelevant. However, given this detail, it then begs the question, just how massive is the Federation? In fact, given that Earth itself, or Daiban as it is usually called in the series, is referred to as the capital of the Milky Way, this would thus imply that the Federation spans across at least the vast majority of the Milky Way galaxy. Maintaining order within such a massive celestial body would seem daunting at first, but then again, Samus's own gunship is able to single-handedly travel to the Tetra Galaxy, meaning that even intergalactic travel is in of itself conventional. Another detail that may help answer the question regarding the Federation's true size can be found in the Skytown databots in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, wherein we can discover that the location of Aether, a rogue planet described as being in the periphery of Federation space, is in another galaxy altogether. Now, although it doesn't explicitly state that the planet in question is Aether, surrounding facts make that conclusion fairly obvious. For instance, other entries detail the Leviathan impact of Tallinn 4, the chronology of which is before the databot detailing this planet, and the only other researchable yet unexplorable planet in-game besides Tallinn 4, via Skytown's observatory, is Aether itself, and these same two planets are also discussed in Federation log entries. All such data logs in question also deal with known worlds impacted by Phazon, and of course, Aether was one such world. Since then, the Space Pirates required the use of a planetary stealth field that hid their presence on Aether from the Federation, and if indeed Aether and the Dasha region are located in another galaxy altogether, this would thus imply that the Galactic Federation also span across more than one galaxy, or at least well beyond the outskirts of the Milky Way. One final note on this matter is that when traveling to Aether, Samus's astrogation system viewed a globe rather than a galaxy, therefore implying a much broader search pattern to include multiple galaxies. With, then, the theory establishing that the Galactic Federation is in reality an intergalactic civilization, what then can be inferred about the Kriken Empire? Well, it would appear to be in an entirely different yet likely adjacent galaxy altogether, separate from both the Milky Way and whatever other galaxy or galaxies the Federation occupies. Given the physiological similarities the Krikens themselves have with the extinct Olympic, the Kriken Empire may even reside at least partially within the Tetra Galaxy, or perhaps in a neighboring galaxy. Ergo, for the Empire to be considered so grave a threat to the Federation and the space pirates combined, we can further conclude that it is A, nearly or even at least equally massive, and B, within the same galaxy cluster, namely the Milky Way's own local group. If this conclusion of the matter is indeed the case, then there are even further details that can be surmised by this theory. For one, given the expanse of the Galactic Federation itself, in order for the space pirates to have maintained their own threat level to the Federation for such a long period of time, we can only assume that the space pirates also controlled a vast celestial network themselves. As an interesting side note that seems to further indicate this, the Key Hunters, another insectoid race that joined the pirates somewhere between the events of Federation Force and Super Metroid, are also described as being an extragalactic race. Strangely enough, the artwork for the Key Hunters is not that dissimilar to the Kriken Triskelion form. For another, since at least reasonably close intergalactic travel is conventional in Metroid, this would have to mean that the planet phase was far more distant than initially supposed. Not only was it likely not even within the local group, but it also may not have even been in the same supercluster, as the Federation could not travel to it without the use of the Leviathan battleship's wormhole capability. Last of all, given the presumed location of the Kriken Empire, it makes all the more sense why the Krikens, despite being so feared and hated, have seldom made an appearance in the Metroid series, Metroid Prime Hunters serving as their only entry. These characteristics, that is their reputation and location, make the Krikens very much similar to extragalactic horrors as seen in other science fiction media, namely the Tyranids of Warhammer 40,000 and the Yuuzhan Vong of Star Wars, Phazon itself being another example of this. And yet, even so, this raises a crucial question. If the Krikens are an extragalactic threat, then how did they gain such infamy? Well, there are only two explanations. Either civilizations within the Milky Way had encountered the Krikens before, whilst traveling beyond their home galaxy, perhaps by even merely observing them from a distance. Or alternatively, the Galactic Federation doesn't have to wait for the Kriken Empire to invade, because they already have, either in the past, or worse, in the present.